Okay, I got a confession to make. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I actually went to see the Transformers movie. I love the guy who plays Optimus Prime, okay? With the recent release of the latest Transformers flick, there's been a lot of talk in the blogosphere about who would win if there were a real-life matchup of cult Japanese anime hero Gundams against the Transformers. Here's some wish list matchups called from all the robotic geeks out there. Wing Zero Gundam versus Optimus Prime, Death Scythe Gundam versus Megatron. I don't know, you get those nasty Decepticons in there and they will eat you for breakfast. Okay, the stuff of a geek fantasy, but contrary to what you think, the Battle of the Giant Robots is very, very real. And don't make a joke out of it to Fernsey right here. He takes this dead seriously. Mike, there's a war going on out there, and somebody's got to fight it.
That's right. It's also a battle between Japan's biggest toy makers, Tommy and Bandai. They have both been making robots based on hit anime series for decades, and it doesn't seem like the appeal is waning. He's 18 metres high, weighs 35 tonnes, and he turned 30 this year. The giant robot standing guard in this Tokyo park was built to commemorate 3 decades of the Gundam television series. The executive director of the Gundam series calls this the Statue of Liberty for a new generation. He's been overseeing the plots for 30 years. He's fairly clear about what drives the storyline.
The sponsors are toy manufacturers. You had to introduce a new mobile suit each week with new weapons.
My mission as Chief Gundam Officer is to maintain the high level of sales in the franchise, which has been Namco Bandai's biggest for 10 years. While the 30th anniversary may not directly affect sales, we are aiming at $380 million in Gundam revenue this year, and it may reach about $420 million.
And while the constant changing of robots and weapons helps sell more toys, it also keeps the anime series fresh for a new generation of children and their parents.
The story is put together very well. The portrayal of characters is very realistic. That's why it's been popular for such a long time.
The basic concept remains the same, but they keep it fresh by changing the details.
The transformation trick also works for Bandai's rivals. Transformers began in Japan in the 70s as Microman and Diaclone. Local manufacturer Tommy joined forces with US toy maker Hasbro to turn it into an international franchise. The second installment of the Hollywood blockbuster movie is also helping sales.
The product range is far much bigger this year as compared with the movie one. However, I think a less expensive product range like Legion, Scout and Deluxe is about 40% more than the previous time.
While the overseas market for Transformers is mainly children, in Japan nearly 40% of the toys are bought by people in their 20s and 30s. And Bernie, that giant Gundam statue was built by Japan's Nomura company, not to be confused with the brokerage of the same name. Shares rising to the highest this year on July 1st. That was 10 days before the robots went on show. Now, the executive director of the Gundam series says he first became interested in animation when the 1951 movie Bambi was shown at his school. And he says he now thinks the screening of Disney cartoons to school kids in post-war Japan was an attempt to brainwash them into loving America. Bambi.
Did you hear that?
Hard to believe.
Bambi is actually a CIA operative. Did you know that?
I always suspected that, actually, I did.
Nothing is that perfect, so doe-eyed and disarming.
Sad, very sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
You know, we're having fun with this item, but this is big business, especially in rotten times. People look for more and more avenues of escapism, don't they? They really do.
During times of distress, it's always nice to have a little something outside the comfort zone to escape to.
Have you found yourself in these, in the last year or two with these tough times and being assailed for your opinion from so many people, so many clients, have you found yourself wanting to escape to a deserted island like Neckar's Island or something like that with a book in hand and no BlackBerry?
It's tempting. It's tempting. But, the BlackBerry is always there. I'm one of these BlackBerry addicts. So even when I go away, it's just, right next to me. And of course I always have my Bloomberg Anywhere on my BlackBerry.
Really? I didn't pay you for that, right?
Not yet.
No, I did not pay you for that. Which leads us to a wider question about who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. Ben from California.
Ben.
What? Here goes Steve.
Well, I grew up in California, so I can relate to that. Yeah, I can relate.
What part of California? L.A. or Rio?
La La
or
Land.
the real
No,
California?
La La Land. No.
Ah, okay.
LA.
Like Eureka or Sacramento?
No, all the way down.
All the way down.
L.A.
Oh, okay. Ben writes in from Belmont. Do you know where Belmont is?
It's a racetrack in New York.
Okay, stakes are high. Given the destruction of financial systems, economies, confidence, and previous paradigms, what will be the profile of the future economic superpowers? Now, there's a probing one for you.
Fair, deep question, Ben, as you would expect from a man from California. I think you've got to have the edge in terms of innovation. Your workforce has to be educated. And you have to run a fairly disciplined financial system. The idea that, we have this sort of cowboy capitalism, let markets just drive the world and the markets and companies anywhere they want, that just doesn't cut it in this complex world anymore. So, and you have to have an open economy, open to international competition, both inward and outward. So, we know what the right stuff is. The question is, do the politicians have the vision, the will, the strategy to pull it off?
If you had an audience today, if you could, just imagine this for a second, with Friedman, Galbraith, Adam Smith, and Keynes all in the same group, what kind of a conversation would all you brains be having?
I think it would boil down to the Adam Smiths and the Milton Friedman saying, stay out of the markets. The markets are smarter than you are. And John Maynard Keynes saying, these markets, when they work, they're great, but when they don't work, they need disciplined, tough intervention and regulation. And we're in a period right now where the market libertarian ideology espoused by, say, someone like Milton Friedman really is under a lot of attack, and understandably so.
Stephen, it's been a pleasure, okay?
Great to see you,
Spend less
Bernie.
time on aluminum tubes. The air is very, very dry. And in this